Hi, I'm Ron from BlindBucks, and tonight we're going to put up a shootout blind on a tower. So the first thing we do is pick our location. So I want it to be here. So we're going to build the blind there, and then the tower, and then stand it up, and it's going to wind up here. So we started out by unpacking everything. We have our blind here. We have all of our hardware, and then we have a screw gun with a driver and a little nut holder. So the first thing we do is take two of the panels from the blind, and we're going to put them together like a little L. So this is the first step. You make a little L out of two of the walls. I'm doing a shootout with the full door. So you've got a screw here, a screw here. You skip that one and a screw there. No screw in the bottom. All right, now we've got three sides using the same screw holes. We're gonna put the fourth wall on. Now I have all four sides together with three screws on each panel. The one here, one there, and then one second from the bottom. Then we're going to put the roof on. The roof is pre-drilled, but these panels are not. So we're going to drop the roof on, drill the holes, and then bolt it through. Okay, so I've got four screws there, and I'm going to do them here. So what you do, I got one screw in. I'm going to take that one there. I'm going to line it up here, and then I have my buddy on the inside hold about here so I don't drill his hand. I'm going to drill three more holes. Okay, so we got all four sides on. We've got the roof on with four screws on each side. Now it looks a little wonky. That's because the ground is not level where we are. So as soon as I put the floor in, it's going to square it right up. So we're going to take the floor and drop it in. And we didn't do any screws on the bottom. So then after we drop the floor in, we put one screw in each of those bottom pieces. And it'll hold it in place so that it levels up. And you use 1/2 inch plywood, use those holes. If you put 3/4 inch plywood, that's okay, but then you need to drill your own bottom hole 1/8 of an inch higher than the existing holes. This is the lower corner. So I line the two screws up with the two holes up with my awl. Then I run the drill through them just to make them a tiny bit wider, and then I put the screw in, and then I run the drill. Now on the inside, the corners, the screws are not in the wood. They just sit on top, and they function as a stop to keep the wood from floating up too high. Okay, so here's the blind all put together. Now I'm going to put the wood in. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to measure from here to here and put that 2x4 in with the wood screws from the outside. They're pre-drilled. Then I'm going to measure from the board here, the end of the board, to this corner. And I'll do the same thing on the other side, from the end of the board, which would be about here, all the way to this corner tight. Then, because this is a full door blind, if it was a half door blind, I would just go right across here. But it's a full door blind, so I'm going to wind up putting a board up top. So then I'll have two framing pieces that go in those two slots. And then there'll be a little tiny piece here that's doesn't have anything, and I'll put two little boards on each side, one there and one there. So I'm going to measure and cut and install, and then I'll show you some more. And when we install, I'll be screwing from the outside, but my buddy will be here holding the wood so you have something to push against. All right, so now this wood is inserted, goes all the way around at the shooting level, and then up here I have for the door frame. So I'm going to have to put, over here I put 2x3s. Everything else is 2x4. But if you don't use 2x3s, the door doesn't close properly. You can put, if you want, 2x6s on all of these to give yourself a little bit bigger resting space or shelf space, or you could also put triangles of plywood here to have something to put your stuff on. That's up to you. I have on mine hangers, and I hang my stuff on little hooks, but that's up to you. So now I'm measuring from the floor straight up to here, and I'm getting just over 57. I'll do that on both sides. It does not get attached to the floor. It free floats down here, the stud, but I'll tow it in up here, and that'll attach it, and then we'll screw it all the way along here. I'll put screws to hold it in. I'll do that on both sides, and then we mount the door frame to that. So now the door is in. We put the two studs here and here. Then we measured to make sure the door frame would fit, and it did. And then we hung it with one screw here. Then we went down and hung it down there, and then we made sure that it opened and closed, and it did. So then we put in screws. So I put 2 per except for the ones that I started with because it was easier for me to use the center hole, so I just evened it up. Then the next step is to toe in all your corners. So I have these long screws, and I'm going to take them and toe in here and there, and then I'm going to, on the tops of these, toe those in, and then we'll be ready for the next step. So these are the window frames. So we do them all with the same piece of glass. So these will just bend a little bit, pop out. So we're gonna do it obviously with all four, but we start with one, and I just go around with the one. So you start out, there's these little dimples, and they're not lined up really correctly. So you put the track right against it like that, and you drill a hole. And then we do the others, we're gonna do all five, and we kind of keep it straight going up. So he drilled the hole, I put the screw through, and then we line it up, and then he's just gonna drill the other four holes. So on the second side, you get it in, and you push it tight, and then you just, it should touch. It shouldn't be loose. You would think you'd want it loose, but then it wobbles like this, and it'll bind. So you wanna get it flush, and just almost snug, not quite snug, and then drill your hole, and then I'll do the other five going up and down. So I put the door handle in. There's two sets of screws. I use a bigger set of screws and a bigger set of nuts. Then you put the door catch on. So up is open, and that's closed. So you come in. So we put the doorknob in, and it comes into the unit, and you just twist it like that and tighten it. So there's a set screw here, so you loosen that screw to bring this in or out to get the right thickness so that it gets nice and snug coming up. So we open it and push it and close it. Now I usually run a little bit of black paint right there, and I forgot to bring that in the woods today, so I'll do that next time I come. I just go not really solid black, just a little bit, just to break up the brightness. Now I'm going to put the windows here. Now this last set of window frames is a little bit too long, so I'm going to cut them a little shorter, and then I can install the window just like we did the other ones in the actual house. Take our window and pull this protective coating off of it. So I got the one cover side off. Then you peel the little stickums off of that, and it's got a ridge, and the ridge goes on the center of the bottom. Just push that on. All right, so now I put this in the track. I've got my handle here to lift it up. Then I take my Velcro, and I like to have the soft side on the house and the sharp side on the glass. So I take it off the glass side, and I take it off the other side. So now I have glue showing, and I bring it up so that it's clear, and then I push it against the house to get the glue side to grab, and then I use my finger to get it separated. Now I can really get this to stick, and now when I want to use it, I'll come up with it, and it'll just stay up like that. And when I want to bring it down at the end of the night, I'll undo it and then bring them down. I generally do that at the end of the night because of that little sound. All right, this is the last window. So the last window, we cut the tops of these because they're a little bit too long, because the door only goes up that high on the full door, because otherwise it'll hit the top brace on the framing. Okay, so first thing we do to build the tower is lay out the base, which is 2 sections, 1, 2, and then 2 cross braces. So these holes here all get a long bolt through them, and then these here line up. There's 4, 2 on each side. So those are a little bit shorter bolts. So you find the bolts that are long enough to go there and long enough to go there. The directions give them letters, but the letters sometimes change. So just find the bolts that match and you'll have plenty. So I just flipped it over. So we got the outside ones here, which we're going to tighten. But you got to make sure you use the holes that line up. So I'm going to put in this one and that one and the fourth one. If you use this hole, then there's no hole here, so you're in the wrong spot. Move it over to the center. So make sure that you have them both in the same set of holes. So I'm going to tighten those, and I'm going to put in the other ones, and then I'll be back. So now I flipped it back upside down so I could put the leg stops on. I had flipped it over because it's too hard to get the nut driver in under here. Those you can see I tightened enough to kind of bow them in a little bit. So now I'm going to take bolts and nuts, and I'm going to put them through here on all sides and tighten them up. And again, just use ones that go through enough so they can tighten. Some are long and some are short. Just find ones that match. Use the shortest ones that'll do the job. So now we're going to attach the piece that attaches the landing. So that goes like this on the front. So you find the ends that have those sides. It goes on either side, and we're going to bolt it through like that and tighten them up. It goes toward the bottom. You see it goes down. If you're using the without a landing, then you will not put that part in. All right, so we're in the woods, so I don't have a tractor or some way to lift the blind up on top. So what I'm going to do now is mount the base of the blind of the tower to the blind that's already built. So I'm going to lay the tower on the ground. I'm going to put the blind on and I'm going to center it. The 4x4 sheet of plywood will go right to the edges of this tower, but the plastic will hang over a little. So if you have this plywood all the way shifted to one side when you drill your first hole, the other side will be in midair. You won't have any plywood. So make sure you center the plywood. Don't worry about the blind. Then get the blind centered. And then we're going to drill holes to go line up one on each side. We have holes here, here, there, and there. So we're going to put 4 bolts when we have this over there, and I'll show you after we have it set up. And then we're going to bolt it all together. Then we're going to lay it on its back. And when it's on its back, we'll add the legs. Then we can just tilt the whole thing up. Okay, so now we have the blind sitting on the tower. I'm going to bolt it. So it's still loose. So you want to make sure that the end of the plywood is level. And I'm using my finger to find the end of the tower. So they're level. That means that it's centered. So when I drill front and back, I'll be able to grab meat on both sides. You can see that little plastic is pulled out a little, and this one is not, but they're level. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bolt that side first, and then I'll tuck that plastic in, and then I'll drill that hole. And then it'll all be lined up, and it'll go up nicely. Got the center one done there. Now I'm going to tilt the whole thing on its back. Just push on that. And now I have access to these holes, and I'm going to drill them and get it set up. Now I have it laid on its back. We're going to get legs, and we're going to put them in the 4 corners and let them hang out. So over here I have all my legs, and you want to grab the ones that only have 1 tab on them. So this is a leg with 1 tab, and then these are legs with 2 tabs, a tab at the top and a tab at the bottom. So those are the ones that go on the bottom section. Right now we're doing the top section, so we're grabbing the ones with only 1 tab. The tab will go at the far away from the blind as possible, and the ones without the tab is what goes at the top. Before on with the tabs, and notice that the tabs face in from all sides, and then we're just going to put 1 bolt up here, and the bolt is good and long, and that's fine. We're going to tighten that all the way down. Okay, so now we're going to build the X's to go on the top section. So there's a whole bunch of these longer tubes, and I'm going to put these over here on my flat table, and then I need crosses. So there are 8 crosses. They're all the same. Okay, but the trick is when you're doing the top section, you want them that way, and when you're doing the bottom section, you want them that way. So you have them upright or laying down. So we use 4 for each, and you use these smaller bolts. And you can look at the diagram, and they're marked, and they'll be correct. so what I do here, because I'm doing the upper one, I'm doing them vertically, I'm going to grab 2 E's. I'm going to put them here. Now you see there's a hole where it's closer to the end and a hole where it's further from the end. So I want the closer to the end side out, so the further side goes in. So I put that one there, like that. I do the same thing with the other E. People put these together wrong all the time, and it's really not hard as long as you know what you're doing. So again, the longer gap goes in. Like that. I'm going to obviously tighten them, but for now I'm just getting them started so they don't fall apart. Then I take the longer poles, and again, the longer one, the longer gap goes in. So there's a shorter gap and a longer gap. So that goes here, like this. And what I do is I put the bolt from the outside so that I can take my drill and do that, and I just hold this. If I have them on the inside, you'll see it's very hard to get the drill in there. So you do that. So I build all of these right now because I get in kind of a groove and I just build them all, and then I use them later. So right now, that's one built. I have to tighten. I have 4 more of these to make for the top, and then I have 4 to make for the bottom. I'm going to make all 8 right now. Now remember, when I do the bottom ones, the crosses will go this way, not this way. So this is tall, and the bottom, the lower ones have to be wider. So that's why you do it this way. Okay, so we're going to build 8 of these. So here's a completed cross. So the top ones on this one, the vertical ones are E, and the bottom ones are G. And the other ones will go horizontal. Now I'm doing the lower one, so this is going to be the wide way. So these are K and J. So they go, again, with the longer spacing, like that, and then the K one will go with the longer spacing in, like that, on both sides. So now the X's that are vertical go on the top. So I put them here, and they go right into the base of the frame, and this is a longer bolt. Then I take a shorter bolt to this side, and you see it doesn't line up. So what you do is you just take this and lift it, kind of bend it out and line up the hole and put it in like that, and then put a nut on it. I'll do the same thing on the other 2, and then we're going to go all the way around. So because there's pressure on the legs, you have to kind of lift them as you go. So now we attach the inserts to the pre-made front top part, and we put on the lower part, which goes right in here, like that, and then those can get tightened. I don't tighten those top ones because we're going to put the landing on, and we'll have to take them. So we're going to tighten these bottom ones on all the way around. And then we'll put the X's in down here. Now we're going to put the bottom X's in, and obviously the shorter posts go at the top and the longer posts go at the bottom. So there's 2 longer ones, 2 shorter ones, and they all get put in with these small screws and tightened up just like we did on the other ones. Now when we go to do the end ones here, it will not line up. You have to just lift as you go. You lift it up high until the hole lines up, and then you put the nut in. And on the bottom, it also won't fit. So when you do the top first, and then you lift the top, and that'll separate the bottom so that you can get it in there. Okay, so now I'm going to put the feet on. I'll go in here like that, and I'm going to push them all the way up, and I'm going to put bolts in 2 holes. I'm not really going to tighten them because after I put it up, this ground is not really level, so then I'm going to be able to undo and slide to another hole if I need to get it balanced out properly. Okay, so all of these are tight. These are not for these legs. And these are not tight here because I can't get the drill on the bottom side there. So after I stand it up, I'll tighten those. So now we're going to assemble the landing and the ladder, and we'll install that. So this is the base to the landing, and we set it down. These are dimpled, so they get put inside the slot. And then I'm going to put bolts in here on two of them, one here and one on the other side, and bolt that together. All right, so now we got 4 pieces for each side to do the landing. So we did the landing, we flipped it upside right. So this is the right side, this is the outside, this is the side against the blind. So now this piece is going to go here, gets bolted through. Then you get this funny shaped one, and it goes down in that hole, and then there's a hole there the bolt will go through. If you put it the wrong way, there's no hole there, so that's how you'll know you have it the wrong way. So I get that one in like that, and I'm going to bolt that there. Then I'm going to take this piece and bolt it like that. And it's going to hang out too far, and then you just kind of pull it back and it'll go into there like that. After you get those done, you can install the upright, which goes here, and then we also need to put on the cross brace that's going to go from here all the way back to the bottom of the tower to give it stability. So that gets put in with a long bolt. I'll show you that separately after I get these put together. Okay, so now we've got the all the pieces put together, and you get two really long bolts. One goes here, one goes the other side because it's 3 wide. And on that one, they come down and angle. Those are going to be the supports that go to the tower later. And important to note is that this long one here is 36 inches, and this one here is 31 inches. And the 31-inch ones are the short ones. They go in the back, and the longer ones go in the front. So we take the whole assembly there and place it up on top of the blind. And there's holes on the mount here, and holes in the landing there. I'm going to line those up, and I'm going to bolt them. Then we're going to take the braces, which are up top, and bring them around, and they'll connect down here. I'll show you that in a moment. All right, so we've got the landing on. So you see we took the braces, spun them around, took out that bolt, put it back in, and attached the brace. Now we have a cable attached to the landing, which I went too low. We're going to bring it up to the next one up, and that'll give us some leverage. And then we're going to pull it with the ATV. And what's going to happen is this center brace is going to bend down, and that's okay. It'll come back. So we stopped with it where it's balanced. And now what I'm going to do is me and my friend, we're going to stop the video so we can do it, but we're going to each hold leg and we're going to pull it just by hand, because if you let it just fall forward, it could topple forward and land on your ATV. So the ladder gets bolted through, there's 4 bolts there, and there's supports that go across. But it's important to realize that the treads are angled, so this is not correct. You want to turn it so that all of your treads are facing the same direction. So I'm going to go get the braces, and I'm going to drop those bolts through and bolt it up. Okay, so now we put the braces in, and you can see I held the ladder together so that there's no gap here. You don't want to have a gap there. And all of these are tight all the way around. So we're all up now, but it was laying on this side, so we did not tighten any of these smaller nuts. So we're going around now and tightening from here on down, and then we'll be all done. We put the railing on the ladder, and climbed up there, and we can see nicely. So now we have a nice view all the way around the woods. We're gonna have, this is our old shooting place, which we're not gonna use anymore. And we'll clear some branches, and we're gonna get, most of the deer come from this way, and we're gonna have lots of lanes going right into there. So thank you very much for joining me and watching us put up this blind, and I hope you have as much fun out of yours as we have out of ours.